how it started, I guess, was December of '97, and actually maybe October I started going to the doctor because of persistent abdominal problems. Well, and this is a condition that I had had off and on for 7 years, and I had always gone to the doctor with the same problems at least a couple times a year, and they always wrote it off as being, don't worry about it. And
what did you think it was? Stress? Or?
It could have, yeah, stress. I thought maybe it was the way I was eating. I thought, I tried to change my diet, and then you read things like if you change your diet too dramatically one way or the other, that can cause problems. There's also a history of bowel problems in my family, so I thought on the women's side, so I thought, oh, maybe that has something to do with it or whatever. And so I just ignored it because it was off and on. It wasn't always a problem. And then, but this time it got to really bother me, and I finally convinced my doctor to, after she did an internal, she found something didn't feel quite right. My uterus seemed a little bit swollen, so I finally convinced them to do an ultrasound. And they did an ultrasound, and they found, what they saw in the ultrasound were sort of large growth areas, but they didn't know what it was. It could have been stool, it could have been tumors, it could have been fibroids, they had no idea. But they did decide that because they were large enough and causing me, increasing problems, that they needed to be removed. So they booked a surgery. So I basically went from an x-ray to an MRI to a surgery booking in a matter of weeks. There was no reason to think anything other than it was fibroids, and they would just remove them and everything would be fine. I went in, they figured it would take about 2 hours, snip the fibroids out, and that would be it. Well, I woke up 5.5 hours later with a complete hysterectomy. They had removed 3 at least grapefruit-sized tumors from my stomach, and there was cancer remaining. So that I don't even know how to describe that. I mean, even the doctors, when they came in and talked to me afterwards, said they were literally on the floor. They couldn't believe what they had found in my stomach. One of the most important things that I've learned through all of this is that our bodies talk to us, and we just don't know how to listen. We're never taught how to listen, and it's tragic. Because I'm telling you, I woke up, nobody had to tell me anything. I knew what was going on. And through all of this process, in regressions and in meditations and things that I've done, I realized that I knew 2 years ago that I had cancer. 2 years before I was diagnosed, I knew. I just, thoughts would pop into my head, I would be in a bar where, partying with friends and stuff like that, and have a social cigarette or something like that, and it would be there, cancer, it would be there. And my grandmother was dying of cancer about 2 years before I was diagnosed. And for some strange reason, it was in my head that it would happen to me too, and I would get it very young. And I am convinced that if I had been more in tune with my body the way I am now, that I would have known, and maybe could have prevented a lot of this. But I think as a society, the way the medical establishment is set up, we're fluffed off. If something is wrong, don't let a doctor tell you, don't worry about it. If something is wrong, pursue it. Be aggressive. Go. If you want an x-ray, if you want an ultrasound, ask for it. Don't let them tell you nothing's wrong when you know that your body is telling you something is not right. Check it out. And just because they can't see it in a 10-minute GP, annual physical, doesn't mean it's not there. Listen to your body. Listen to what it's telling you. Unfortunately, the medical community and as it's run by the government as a business, is financially driven, let's face it. They want to get as many patients in and out as they can, as quickly as they can. And if you're in there and you keep asking for x-rays and asking for ultrasounds, it costs money, and they're not going to refer you to one without what they think is good reason. So you have to be really aggressive with your doctors, and you have to tell them, it's not right. If they say don't worry about it, it's just, increase your fiber, everything will be fine. If I had just been aggressive 3-4 years ago when this was happening, none of it would have been found. Ovarian cancer is one of the least detectable cancers out there, and that's why it's always caught at such a late stage. But there are early warning symptoms, and I think that people just need to get way more aggressive with their physicians. And if something is not right, listen to what your body's telling you, and ask for more. Push it. Go to another doctor. Get a third opinion, a fifth opinion, a 10th opinion, until you are satisfied. Because your body will tell you if something is wrong, and we have to pay more attention to it and listen.